Okay, so now we're gonna go to this young lady. Her name is Lexi McCullough, and she is the daughter of Chris Fletcher and stepdaughter of Nell Fletcher on Love and Marriage Huntsville. So she has some things she had to say um about her parents and step parents. So let's see what she got to say.
Mom and sister honestly kind of fielding those for me. They're telling me like, oh, go respond to this, that, and the other. But for the most part, they're trying to kind of shield me from it because they do not want any negativity to deter me from what I'm trying to do, which is tell my story so that you can better understand me, how I got to that explosive moment at a dinner table, how I got to a peaceful and beautiful, loving place for myself, for my family, by kind of letting go of that toxicity of a family and letting go of that relationship or relationships that I had with that family. So thank you guys so much for watching. And here's to chapter 1. Here we go. So as everyone knows, this chapter is about my stepmom. My intention here is not to bash and to, I guess, air out my family, or the family that I had. Not my family, but to air out the family that I had. That's not my intention. I'm not going to go into any crazy gory details about my childhood. I really just want to talk about my history and maybe help somebody understand our relationship and how it got to the place that it's gotten to. So
No, I'm not in the Love and Marriage Huntsville gossip area, so I know very little. I mean, I do see things that hits the blog and stuff like that, but as far as YouTube discussions and things like that, I'm not really familiar with all the players. So I'm asking, was this story requested? Yeah, was it requested by anyone that she tell her story, or did she just feel like one day she's gonna tell her story to YouTube?
I've known my stepmom since I was like 2 or 3. She's been in my life forever, as has my stepbrother. We're only like 6 months apart. And I've only ever known my stepmom and my biological father to be together. I know I've seen comments like from the past year of my interview Giving You the Real Tea. People were saying like, oh, she's so bitter. She broke up the home. You got to get over that. La, 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 la. Um, I don't know what home they're talking about because the only home I've ever known is them together. I've never seen my parents together. That's never been a norm, never been something that I've experienced. So I don't really attribute any bitterness or that I had um, to my stepmom for breaking up their home. Um,
So that's interesting. Her and she's known Neil and Chris to be together ever since she was 2. So she's never known her mom and dad to be in a relationship. So I'm wondering, were they ever in a relationship? 2, that's kind of early. But okay. And then she says that Neil had a son that was there. She said they're 6 months apart, so either 6 months older or 6 months younger. So I guess Nell and Chris was 2 people with toddlers and started dating.
and honestly, that's nothing that I need to be bitter about. That's not my relationship. I was a child. I wasn't privy to any of that as I shouldn't have been. So why would I care? And I'm happy that they got divorced. I'm very happy with my family dynamic
Okay, so her mom and dad were married, so I missed that part. Okay.
that I have now, especially with um, kind of removing that family from my life. So yeah, everything happens for a reason. But I've known my stepmom my whole life. And I don't have any unpleasant memories of her from when I was a kid at all. Not one unpleasant memory. Um, yeah, I remember spending time with her mom, her sister, and it was always like, a good time. She was my mom. Like I referred to her as mom. I never called her by her name. She was my mom. Like, I didn't have any unpleasant memories of her. And when I got to age like I want to say like 10-ish, maybe, that's when things kind of started to shift for me and my stepmother. The family, they lived in Atlanta for a little bit of time, and at first when they lived there, it was just my biological father, stepmother, stepbrother, half sister, and brother. and the niece was not there yet. And I would come and visit and spend time with them, mainly my stepmom and my siblings. And it was fine. I didn't have a room there when I would go visit.
I remember hearing about this niece. I forgot if the niece was on Nell's or Chris's side, but maybe she'll explain.
I would have to stay in my brother's room and he'd sleep on the couch. So I never had like a room or toys, clothes, anything that was mine. The only thing that was mine was what I brought in a suitcase there to go visit them with. And never really felt the type of way about that until they adopted their niece. And when they adopted her, she had a room in their house. And it kind of made me feel a type of way. I had some issues because she was around the same age as my stepbrother and I. And, they became really close. So I kind of felt like she was taking my brother away from me. And then she had her own room. So I was like, but I wanted a room. And why did she get a room? So, and I would ask my stepmom about that. And she told me that I had a room at my mother's house.
Okay, that was kind of mean to say. I guess from a kid's perspective, that is kind of mean. Especially if they had a room there to give her. They could have gave her a room, or her and the niece could have shared a room. But, I guess Nell seems, she's like a straightforward, straight shooter type of person. So I could see both sides of it, I guess.
Which I mean is crazy when I think about it now, because I'm like, oh, it's if I'm one of the kids, like, and I'm your child, because like I said, I always grew up with, my mom, my stepmom, my biological father, and then my stepfather came to the picture later on when I was like 8. Like, of my parents, she was always a parent, so I didn't understand if I was one of the kids why I could not have a room. And she never like referred it to like, oh, go talk to your dad. She never said anything like that. She just said you had a room at your mom's house. So there's that. And whenever I wanted to, and I asked for a room because I was like, I want to have like my own stuff here and like toys and everything, because my sister at the time, I was still young too, so I like Barbies and everything. And my sister had this pink room and all these Barbies and all these toys, but my stepmother wouldn't let me play with certain toys of hers. She said she didn't want me to mess them up. She kept a lot of stuff in like boxes, and their original boxes, like if it was like a Barbie camera or something like that. And so I was not allowed to touch those toys. And then there were certain toys of my sister's that I guess maybe they were her favorite toys. I don't know, but I was not allowed to play with those toys. So I was really limited, and I didn't see that as ugliness when I was a child. But now that I'm an adult, I'm kind of like, it's kind of messed up. But that was my early childhood with her. And then between
Curious, she never told her mom about this kind of stuff. Had her mom maybe talk to Nell or Chris about her grievances about staying there. Why her mother never
can't really
said
remember what age I was,
anything?
but between them living in Atlanta and then moving to Harvest, Alabama, there was a stint of time there that I could not get in contact with my biological father. So I was left to only call my stepmother to try and get a hold of him. And I would call, and she'd give me an excuse, and he would never be around so I could talk to him. Same thing would happen with my mom when she would call so I could try and talk to my dad. And I later found out from my stepmom when I was like 17 or 18 why he, didn't get on the phone. It's because he left them for another woman and her kids, which freaking sucks for my stepmom, but that's what happened. I didn't know that at the time, so I was just like, where's my dad?
Okay.
But I started to have like little resentment towards my stepmom because of that, because I was like, you're keeping him from me. Like, why can't I talk to my, like, where is he? And then all of a sudden, one day, he popped up, called, and he said that I'd come visit, and they lived in Harvest, Alabama. I don't know. It was strange. So they moved to Harvest. They lived with friends of my stepmom. Her friends had 2 daughters. So in this like 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house, it was, 4 adults, their 2 daughters, and then their 4 kids. Well, their 3 kids and their niece. So it was a lot going on in that house. But it was fun for me as a kid. I remember like, sleeping on the floor and couch and everything. It was kind of like a big slumber party. But my stepmom was different. She was quiet. She was kind of like frozen. She worked at the Dollar General at the time, and I remember her wearing like these black turtlenecks, and she would get like these nasty rashes on her neck, and I would feel so bad because after she got off work, she needed like an hour or something to herself. She was just quieter. I don't know. That's
Not
the only way I
Nell
can really
working at the
describe it.
Dollar General,
And they went
child.
to church a lot. They didn't go out as much. They didn't go shopping or anything like that. And I didn't really ask her much. And from what I can remember, when I would ask for something, she would say like, "Oh, we don't have it right now." And which was fine. But it was just it was a quieter time for them in that family.
So I guess Chris's cheating led to them moving, losing their home or whatever in Atlanta, and now they had to move to Alabama with Nell's friend, and Nell got to get a job at the Dollar General. Oh,
And then when they
child.
eventually moved and bought their own home in Harvest, there was a shift with the relationship of myself and my stepmom because she was no longer quiet. She was angry. She was really angry. She would talk down to my biological father. She would talk down to him, talk about him, cuss him out. She did the same thing with my stepbrother and her niece. And it was a lot of yelling and cussing and belittling. And it was just like a sad time. She was just really angry. And she would, um, oh God, she would talk about my bio dad in public. And it'd be so embarrassing. Like, because she would cuss him out. And then she would just air out their laundry in front of the whole restaurant, just talk about him and say he's not worth shit. And that's why you left your family. And blah, blah, like, I mean, it was bad. It was so bad that I started to feel bad for my biological father. I remember crying a lot at their house at night and in rooms because I would just feel bad that she would talk about him so bad. And
What you say,
it was
girl?
embarrassing and
Come on
hurtful
now, give
and
us the
kind of
tea.
scary, especially when she would kind of go in with my stepbrother and her niece. Like they got the verbal abuse, and for me, it was she was angry at that time, so I was real scared, didn't want to smoke, I didn't ask for much. If I did, like, say, like, oh, can we go out to eat, like, that's the only time she would kind of come at me, like, we pay child support, like, I don't understand why you feel like when you come down here we got to take you out to eat. I'm just like, yeah, it's a simple no would suffice, but I don't want any smoke. So I learned very quickly when they were in that state in life to just zip it, because I didn't want any issues with her. So I mean, that's kind of how our relationship was at that time. I just kind of tried to steer clear. She also would get drunk and, like, tell me things that I shouldn't have known as a child about her and my biological father's relationship. She would sit there and talk about how he didn't make any money and he wasn't worth a damn, and, like, all. She would get drunk and go off the deep end and go in on him and talk to me like I was one of her girlfriends. And that was hard because, well, I was a child and I just, wanted to come and visit. And I don't know. That's not something that my parents in Nashville ever did. So it was a really weird dynamic. I didn't really know how to navigate that. But I also, like I said, didn't want to smoke, so I would just listen. But that did deeply affect how I saw her and any respect that I had for her because of how she would treat siblings and my biological father. And once they got to a better place financially, they moved to Madison, Alabama, and they had a nice house there. And that's when things, like, I guess because they started doing better and they had the money, they started getting a lot for, like, the kids. They would go shopping a lot. They would go out to eat a lot. And when I would come down, I wanted to, like, join in. Oh, I also wanted, or lived in. I've never had a room, a bed, anything. But when they lived there in Madison, they go out more and shop more. And when I would, like, try and ask to be included, like, if we're at the mall and you're buying stuff for them and I'm like, oh, can I get this, my stepmom would kind of get angry and turn to me and snap and be like, we pay child support, you need to ask your mom because we pay child support.
So now we're getting into the root of it. Now I probably treated this little girl in some kind of way because child support is guaranteed money. No matter what he's gonna make in life, he's gonna have to pay that child support. And now that what happens when you get with a man that had a child 2 years before you all got together. They had a young child. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you would expect it. He has to pay child support. He has to pay for his child. And I agree. But you also can't shun the little girl for asking for things for his father, because child support don't pay all of it, don't pay everything for a child support just pays a portion. If they all are all going shopping, yes, you have to get her things too. I mean, don't go shopping when she's there and exclude her from things that you're getting from everybody else just because you pay child support. That's kind of mean.
And when I got older, like 16, she would say, like, I get child support for my son and I give him all that money. I don't know why your mom keeps child support from you, but if you want something, you ask her because we pay child support. So everything was about child support. Everything was about child support. I didn't know until I was a little older that he did not pay child support. Ooh, can anyone guess how old he was when he was done paying child support and arrears and all that kind of stuff for me? I'm 33. I'm curious to see what age people would guess when he.
So he didn't even pay child support consistently. He sometimes, I guess when he lost his job, he didn't get caught up with child support. He stopped paying because he didn't have a job. So I see why Nell would have an attitude as well, because Once he stopped paying, he would have to start back paying when he got a job. So then he'll probably have to take a lump sum of his money to pay that child support, and that lump sum of money, which Nell probably feels like it needs to be in the household, is going to her mother. Well, Nell, I mean, that's not the baby's fault. That's not her fault.
Yeah, I'll just say that they didn't pay child support. So that was always a struggle with me and my stepmom. If I wanted something, if I wanted to go somewhere, I wanted to do something, movies, like you name it, go skate, we paid child support. You ask your mom because we pay child support, and she needs to give you that money so when you come down here, you can pay for stuff. So that was kind of hard. And then there was actually this one when they lived in a house in Madison. My car was broken into, and they were like really apologetic. It happened at their house. And like, oh, we'll pay for your window and blah blah. They didn't, and then I got upset about it with my bio dad. I got upset with him and like was upset and going off on him. And she chimed in and she was like, "You need to use that child support to pay. You need to use that child support to pay for that window." But it was just like you guys offered. Like I'm only following up with what you said you would do. Like, but everything was about child support. Everything. Anytime I wanted anything, it was child support this, child support that. And she would always get really really angry with me when I would ask for anything because of them paying child support. And then it started to turn into like, why every time you come around here, you want something, you need something, you want something, don't we pay child support? I didn't understand, I guess for them, that child support meant anything outside of child support that I wanted was a no. Was an absolute, like, we don't, like, no, we pay child support. So that started to get, like, really hard for me. There was also a time when they lived in Madison, and this was when my brother was married to his first wife. Yes, his first wife. And I came down, and they were talking about how they went to Victoria's Secret, and my stepmom spent $12,000, that's what they said, I don't know if it's true, $12,000 on his, I can't remember if it was his fiance or wife at the time. And I was just like, what? That's insane. And I was like, can I get a jogging suit from Victoria's Secret? I really want this, like, whatever. And she's like, we pay child support. But then the next time I came down, it was around Christmas. They got me some Victoria's Secret stuff, which I was like, oh, cool. But then they also, and this, I'll talk about in the chapter about the dinner, that same Christmas that they got me that, it's not funny, that same Christmas that they got me that Victoria's Secret stuff, they got their son a brand new car, and they got their daughter a brand new car, luxury cars, which is totally fine. I had a car at the time. And then later on, after my stepbrother kind of pitched one, had a fit about it, they got him a car. And then they gave the niece a BMW. So, and it was just really weird because I was just like, and I didn't say, like, I was hurt and I was really upset, but then she was like, we got you, you wanted the Victoria's Secret stuff, and we got you that. I don't know. Am I tripping? I don't know, but that was the dynamic. That's kind of how it went. So, that was our relationship. It was okay until it wasn't. And I really do attribute a lot of that to her not being loved properly by my biological father. I really do feel like because she was not protected, she didn't have the security, she didn't have that stability in her marriage and her relationship with her husband and for the father of her kids, because she didn't have that, I feel like that deeply affected how she looked at me and how she treated me. It's like, if I try and put myself in her shoes, I'm like, I'm over here, fighting for my life because I want this man to love me and see me and treat my kids, with love and respect and be there for them, support them. And then I've got this other kid over here that's not even my biological kid, that's wanting the same thing, but I don't even have it for myself or my kids. So I can put myself in her shoes and I can see how, that would have been hard, but I still cannot excuse, I was a kid, just as much as you wanted my bio dad to see you and love you and appreciate you, I wanted the same. And I feel like instead of trying to embrace me and help me navigate through that, the way I guess you tried to, or had to maybe, if you did navigate that with your kids, you just kind of like left me to fend for myself with that, and then really treated me badly, really kind of put me in a box and set me to the side and was like, I got my own kids myself to worry about. I'm not doing anything for this kid. And that's kind of how I felt. But I do understand that you were not given the respect and the love and the security that you needed. I really do feel bad. And I mean, I wouldn't know what to do if I was in your shoes. Especially if, my husband stepped out on me. I've already told my husband I'm not interested in ever being divorced, and that would be like the number one thing that would get, this paper served to him. But yeah, I do understand that was hard for you. And I have forgiven you for how you treated me. I have moved on. I have processed through that and worked through that and those ill feelings that I had or had towards you because of how you treated me. But I do, if she's watching this, I feel like I'm talking to her, but if she's watching this, I do want her to understand that, I can sympathize with you. And I do hate that was your reality with my biological father. And I do wish that, I have wondered, I'm like, man, if he did right by you, would you have done right by me? I'm not gonna lie, that hasn't crossed my mind. Because I just know it was hard for you. I didn't deserve it. I still don't feel like I deserved it, but I know it was not easy for you. And I hate that for you, for your kids, because they deserve to have a mother that was treated like a queen, a mother that had that stability and that security. And who knows how your kids would have turned out if they had that, you know what I mean? Who knows how they would have turned out if he never left and you didn't have to kind of fend for yourself to raise and take care of 3 kids by yourself for a couple years. Like I can truly, truly sympathize with you. And I know that was not an easy thing to go through and work through. And you stayed, y'all been married for I don't know how many years, you stayed. So I don't feel like, you worked through the things you should have worked through in order to stay and have a more positive relationship, but you stayed nonetheless. And yeah, I just, I hope she knows that I see her on that, and I do feel bad about that. And as for, the explosion at the dinner, I feel like that kind of explains or helps, a little bit for people to understand how I got to that explosion with my stepmother. And I know she said that I've cussed her out many times before. That's never happened. And I will tell you why. So when I will tell you why. At that dinner, I knew that when I caught on to what they were doing, I realized I'm done with family. I'm never going to really see them again. We're done. And I was like, and I'm going to cuss her out because, all that history, all that hurt, resentment, all that stuff from little Lexi, teenage Lexi, young adult Lexi. And I was like, I'm going to cuss her out. And I did that because I wanted to, A, and then B, because there were witnesses around. Okay. There were witnesses around, there were people around, and I knew that she would not beat my ass if I cussed her out. The reason I say I've never cussed her out is because I'm terrified of her. I have seen her fight. Okay. And she can fight. I cannot. I cannot. Someone I know, if the cameras were around, would have leaped over that table and rocked my world. The way she would have beat my ass, I would have left that house and went directly into an ambulance and off to the hospital. So I saw my shot and I took it, and I cussed her out because I wanted to, and because I knew she was not going to try and fight me. And with her probably having that resentment and hate or whatever she has towards me for me, I don't know. With all that bubbling up over 30 years of knowing this person, I can't imagine the type of ass beating I would have gotten. And the embarrassment, the whole thing was embarrassing for me, but I can't imagine if I did that, cussed her out, and then this lady got up and beat my ass. The recovery. It took me it's been 2 years since this has happened, and I'm finally sharing, my story. Yeah, I don't know what the recovery would have been if she would beat my ass. So that's why I did it. And if you want to know if I feel like she deserves an apology or not, stay tuned. I'll talk about that in that chapter about the dinner. But yeah, that's why that happened. And I'm approaching 30 minutes here, so that's pretty much my story and my history of my stepmom. And if there's anybody out there that has a bonus parent or has an estranged, parent, if you can, kind of sympathize with my story, I want to know that I see you, and I want you to know that I understand it's not easy. It is not easy if you grew up with someone who probably wasn't loved properly, who did not love you, and could not give you the love that you probably deserved. That's hard. You don't deserve it. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of respect and to be seen and to feel included and a part of a family. And if you didn't get that, like I didn't, I see you, and I'm so sorry. It's hard to grow up in, that type of environment, but I feel like
okay, y'all, that's basically it. I'm gonna wrap it up here. This is part one of Lexi's story. Basically, she feels unloved by her stepmother, and she has gave reasoning to why she feels like her stepmother did not love her properly, and that was because her father, Chris Fletcher, didn't treat Nell right. So she feels like that's why Nell didn't treat her right. I don't know.
She does get to have a good place and peaceful place in her life and in her heart.
I can't say if that's the reason why.
If you were somebody that is in this type of position, you deserve that.
You know,
you can have that, and it's not an easy road. It's not an easy thing.
Nell is a grown up, and Nell is old enough to know better to not take her grown frustrations out on a child. So that's it's really no excuse for that. Nell is a grown up. Her husband is a grown up. You don't take your grown up problems on this child. She doesn't have anything to do with him cheating. And also, Nell, you got with this man when he had a little child. So, of course, he's going to have to pay child support. She's going to have to come and visit. She's going to ask for things. She's not going to understand that child support is not, but she's not going to understand that. So I don't give Nell an excuse on why. I don't rock with that excuse. But anyway, goodbye. Part 2. Let's see if it's good enough to react to.